In this lecture, we are going to learn about the break and the continue statement in C. We have already seen the break statement in the switch case. We have used break statement to terminate the switch case. We have already discussed this. Now we can also use this break statement for early exit from the loop. So if you want to exit a loop before it normally stops, then we need to use this keyword called as break. Now there is one more keyword called as continue. Now continue will help you to terminate the current iteration of the loop. Now iteration is nothing but repetition. Let's take this example of a for loop that runs for 5 times. So in this loop there are 5 iterations. Okay, the first iteration I is 1, in the second iteration I is 2, in the third iteration I is 3, fourth iteration I 4, and in the last iteration I is 5. So this loop is having 5 iterations. Okay, now this loop starts from the initialization I is initialized to 1, and the condition is I must be less than equals to 5, and I is incremented by 1 each time. Okay, now there are 5 iterations. Now here if you see, I've used this keyword called as continue. Whenever this condition I is 3, whenever I becomes 3, this continue statement will be executed. In the body of the if, this continue statement is there. Okay, so whenever this I becomes 3, the continue will be executed. Okay, now let's see how it works. So whenever I is 1, this will not be executed, so this continue is not encountered. So directly the I would be displayed. So I equals to 1 would be displayed in the screen. Okay, once this is done, the loop will act normally and it will go and increment the value of I. Now I becomes 2. Okay, now 2 is less than equals to 5 is true. It will go inside, it will check the condition. 2 equals to 3, this condition is false, so it will come and print the value of I, wherein I is 2. It will go back, increment the value of I. Now I becomes 3. Okay, check the condition, 3 is less than equals to 5, get into the loop. Now 3 is equals to 3, this condition becomes true, right? Now the continue statement is encountered. So whenever continue is encountered, what happens is, it is going to skip executing all the statements that is below the continue. So it will not go below, it will directly skip that iteration and then go and increment the value of I. Okay, so in that case I equals to 3 is not displayed. So I is incremented, now I becomes 4, right? And then it will print, right, this condition is false, it will print I equals to 4, and then it will go and increment, the I becomes 5, 5 is less than equals to 5 is true, right? So I equals to 5 would be displayed. Okay, and finally I becomes 6. Okay, now 6 less than equals to 5 is false, right? And then loop normally stops and then it will come outside of the for loop. So in this case, if you see, the value of I that is being displayed is I equals to 1, I equals to 2, I equals to 4, and I equals to 5. So here, whenever I was 3, this statement was skipped. So whenever you would like to skip the current iteration of the loop, then in that case you will be using the continue statement. I hope this is clear. Okay, now let's look at the working of the break in the loop. So this is the same program. Instead of continue, I have written down break here. Now what will break do is that break will prematurely exit your loop. Okay, so normally loop will exit whenever 6 is less than equals to 5. This is the case whenever loop exits normally. Okay, whenever I is 1, what happens is it will display I equals to 1. Okay, then I becomes 2, so it will display I equals to 2. Whenever I becomes 3, this will be true and then break will be encountered. Whenever break is encountered, it will prematurely exit the loop. So it will come outside of the loop, it will terminate the loop. Okay, so whenever you would like to terminate the loop prematurely, or you would like to have the early exit from the loop, in that case you will be using the break statement. Okay, so in this case the output is I equals to 1 and I equals to 2, and in case of continue we have the output as I equals to 1, 2, 4 and 5. So very simple, continue will skip the current iteration and break will exit the loop prematurely. This is what you should remember. Now let's look at a very interesting example or application of break and continue statement. Let's assume that you are enrolled in an online course, okay, which is of 12 months long duration. Okay, this course will go on for 12 months, 1 year. Okay, so in this course you will have to sit for examination or assessment that happens every month. Okay, every month the assessment happens, and the score that you need to achieve in every monthly test is greater than equals to 40. Okay, whenever your score is less than 40, that means you have failed in that monthly test. Now let's assume that your father wants you to take this course in a proper way. Okay, so in that case, he wants to encourage you by giving you a grant of 5,000 rupees per month only if your score in that month is greater than equals to 50. So if you score greater than equals to 50, you will get 5,000 rupees as a pocket money from your father. Okay, but there is a check. If you fail, that means if your score is less than 40, that means you fail, right? If you fail, then you stop receiving the grant for all remaining months. Let's say you score in the 4th month, you score marks less than 40. That means starting that month till the 12th month, you will stop receiving the grant of 5,000 rupees. Okay, so this is the checkpoint, and your father is being a bit lenient here. If somehow you happen to score between 40 and 50, greater than equals to 40 and less than 50, then you do not receive the grant for that particular month. Okay, so for that particular month, you will not receive the grant. Now let's try to implement this as a program. First of all, we need to note here that your assessment happens monthly and your father is willing to give you grant every month. So we have 12 months in a year. Let's say the course starts from January. So I'll have to run a loop for 12 times starting from I equals to 1, the first month, January, to I less than equals to 12, the last month, that is December, I plus plus. So I am having the iteration over 12 months. So I equals to 1 meaning that is the first month, I equals to 2 meaning that is February or second month. Similarly, I equals to 12 meaning that is the last month or December. Okay. Now each month what you're going to do is you're going to get your score, right? So let's scan the score from the user. So let's say your subject teacher will provide you the score. Let's say the score is stored in the variable score. Okay. So this will be scanned every month. So every month you are appearing for the test assessment and you get the score for that assessment. Right? Now what happens is, if a score is less than 40, you fail and you stop receiving your grant. So we'll write if the score is less than 40, you stop receiving the grant. What does it mean? That means you have to break, isn't it? Now you write break here. That means when break is encountered, you will come just outside of the loop, because now you will stop receiving the grant. Okay, so you just come out of the loop. Now let's try to implement this one. Okay, that means if your score is greater than equals to 40 and your score is less than 50, what does it mean? That means you will not receive the grant for that particular month. That means I'll have to use the continue statement here. Now what we'll continue to do is, as soon as the continue statement is encountered, okay, you will not go below to get the grant. You will just go and continue with your loop. Okay, this is the continue. At the end, what you do is you will write the statement for displaying your grant. Okay, so that means I'll just write here printf. Okay, so grant is received. Okay, now this statement, that is receiving the grant, will only be executed if both of these statements are false. Okay, so this is how you can use break and continue. Now let us try to trace this code. Okay, let's say in your first month you have received the score to be 52. So this condition is false, this condition is false, therefore you will enjoy your grant of 5,000 rupees is received by you. Okay, let's say in the second month you score 68. Again, this condition is false, this condition is false. Again, you receive the grant of 5,000 rupees. Let's say in the third month your score is little less, you score 63, but still your condition is true. You have scored more than 50, right? So you'll receive 5,000 as a grant. In the fourth month, let's say that you have received the score as 46. Okay, so this is false. But 46 lies between 40 and 50, right? So this is true. That means now continue will be encountered. So you'll go to the next iteration of the loop. That means you do not get the grant in the 4th month because your score is between 40 and 50. Okay, now let's say in the 5th month you work really hard and you get a score of 70. That means you get a grant of 5,000 rupees. Okay, in the 6th month, let's say you get 68. Again, this condition is false, this condition is false, so you get a grant of 5,000 rupees. Okay, in the 7th month, somehow you scored 38. So whenever you score 38, what happens is, score is 38, right? So 38 is less than 40 is true. That means you will encounter the break statement. Okay, now this break will take you directly out of the loop, and then you will not receive the grant in the 7th month. Even in the 8th month, whatever score you may be having in the 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th and the 12th month, you will not get the grant. Okay, so you will receive total of 15 plus 10, 25,000 rupees as a grant. So this is how you can actually apply break and continue statement. Just remember these 2 points. Break will help you to terminate the loop, okay, and continue will help you to skip the current iteration of the loop. Okay, that's all in this lecture. I hope you have understood how break and continue statement works. Stay tuned.